Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the very first edition of Destiny Talks with your host, Birdman Jones and Tweezy. Tweezy's been a longtime fan of Destiny. We've actually been talking about it for quite some time, but I don't think we've actually played together. Or maybe we did one time.
We did. We used to.
Yeah.
We used to back when you were an Xbox player.
Before I completely
me,
abandoned Xbox.
Wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was you, me, and my wife playing what was that? Was it Rise of Iron?
I think it was Rise of Iron.
Yeah, because everybody moved over for Destiny 2.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, it was like Rise of Iron days. Man.
Yeah, Rise of Iron, Age of Triumph. I still have the Age of Triumph shirt from that Rise of Iron, actually.
Dude, I need to order my my Triumph shirt from this past year. I've been so excited.
Absolutely, yeah. Get that before the date goes by. This is it exactly, and of course you can put your custom gamer tag and everything. I really liked this year's.
I definitely was a fan of this year's. I'm definitely grabbing mine.
Oh yeah. So let's see. We just had the release of the Beyond Light DLC, which we've been waiting for quite some time. The lore has been leading up to this point. There's really a lot. It feels like the culmination of so many different stories that were released, over the period of Destiny. What are your kind of thoughts on Beyond Light, where the story is going, and what is leading up to this point?
Well, I think the most important thing is to build off what you were talking about. Like, this has been a long time coming. The Exo Stranger we were introduced to in Vanilla D1, which is really hard to believe. That was like almost 7 years ago now that I've been playing this game since the beta, and why have I dedicated this much time to something that I'm not getting paid for? Anyways, the biggest question that we've always had is, who is the Exo Stranger? Why is she important? And for the past 5 years, we haven't known anything about her. Eventually, through the lore, like, we started to put together some of the pieces. Oh, okay, we think that the Exo Stranger is Elsie Bray. Right. But we haven't had anything that was super confirmed until right up here recently. So the fact that we are getting to learn more about the Exo Stranger and her abilities, and like why she is an important character in the Destiny universe, that has been by far the best thing about this expansion, or about the promise of this expansion. Just getting to learn more, not just about her, because like we get to talk about her, but we also get to talk about the Brays,
Yeah.
I don't want to hijack too much of the conversation, but if I can nerd out for like a little bit, one of the most exciting things about Warmind is that we were going to get to learn more about Bray tech.
That's right.
But Warmind and everything that's been dealing with Mars since then was very much focused on Rasputin, and about the war sets. Not so much about Anna Bray, like.
Yeah, she got a little bit of the story, but really she was just Rasputin's translator.
Exactly. And so it was exciting because like we got a taste of like, oh, okay, Braytech stuff will be really cool. Like you can get the Braytech hand cannon and all that stuff by completing those escalation protocols.
Yep.
And that was cool. But like that did nothing but whet my appetite, man. Like I've been wanting to know more about the Brays since the end of Vanilla D1. And we are finally at a point where we can learn more about them. And I'm super stoked.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, it really has been a huge stretch of history since Vanilla D1, when they actually would talk about Braytech on Mars. But, the gap between that part of the story and the Warmind expansion is, 3 years about? So we kind of just introduced all these things and then dropped it to focus more on the Hive aspect and how the Hive gods came about. And then really we just focused on the darkness and, the sword logic for several DLCs. But now we're getting back to the original things that got us into this. And these original.
And it's all starting to tie together, like I was also excited about the darkness, like before they started introducing it, like I was super stoked because we're talking about like before Shadowkeep dropped, which I would say is like the first like real amount of time that we spent learning a lot about the darkness. Like we had heard about the darkness, we had heard about the fact that we had the golden age once the Traveler first came to humanity, and then the darkness came and we didn't know what happened. The Traveler tried to repel it, but he failed and the Traveler went dormant for years.
Right.
You know, like we knew all this, but we didn't know the darkness.
Traveler
and
tried
now we
to
know
bounce
the
on
darkness.
us, man. The Traveler tried to abandon humanity, but
I mean, he
whatever.
definitely, like jury's still out on whether or not he's going to.
Treat us just like the Elixir, man. That's garbage. Now you see why the Elixir are so mad, which actually was part of the reason I was personally hyped for Beyond Light, because I knew that Aramis was going to be one of the key focal points, and I knew they had to discuss how the Fallen really feel about the Traveler and how they've spent now centuries trying to get back its favor to become guardians again. They're never going to get that. So now you really hate the Traveler. The Traveler hurt you more than it helped the race of the Elixir. And, I really don't blame Aramis for trying to, gain darkness power. She went about it the wrong way, but, props for trying.
Yeah, she went to the darkness and she embraced it. But that's not to say it's a bad thing. I mean, because we also, my coworkers are also, huge Destiny nerds, so life is good. But, we've talked about the fact, what would happen if the Traveler up and left humanity, high and dry? We've gotten so used to the Traveler for so long, and even, I think there was, a lore entry that might have came out, I want to say sometime when we were trying to save Saint 14, but it could have been earlier if we're being honest.
Okay.
Where it was talking about the speaker, and the last speaker said that he had never heard from the Traveler.
Yes, that's exactly right. That did come out with Season of Dawn. That our speaker actually never spoke with the Traveler at all.
Exactly.
He struggled.
And so that's been the confusing thing, is for the longest time, one of the best things that Bungie has done story-wise in the past year is really start developing more of that story by us being introduced to the darkness as not seeing the Traveler as this savior figure that Zavala sees it as being. Where all is good because the Traveler says it's good. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things, again, it's one of the things we found out that I like the most about Osiris, is the fact that Osiris was willing to to challenge the thoughts of the Vanguard because he didn't believe that much in the Traveler.
Right.
There's a whole lot of questions about the Traveler. He left the Elixir. They're the Fallen because he left. Yeah. And who's to say he's not going to leave us? But it's very interesting because also, the darkness came and they were like, hey, you can do all these cool stasis things. And I was like, all right, bet, let's go.
Yeah, those cool stasis things. We're definitely going to talk about that on the next episode, viewers. We'll get more into the current DLC. But right now, we're talking more about things that hyped us up in the recent lore, or maybe even things in the past that we want to discuss. For me, I would say, and without spoiling it at all, I can say that they really even haven't addressed this in at least where I am in the current DLC. But I want to know more about the Drifter, what he's doing on Europa, and how he intends to fight the darkness. Because he's one of the few Guardians who was actually around shortly after the collapse for the Dark Ages and has been through everything. And he's, one of the few sources that we have who's been like, hey, no, you need to use the darkness. Since we met him, you need to use the darkness.
Very much so.
You got to want the dark to use it. Whatever, something like that. Yeah. So what is his plan? I know he has a whole taken army is saved in those darkness moats that we turned in for him. In several of the lore stories, he's gone and taken out whole hordes of Elixir and Cabal with just a few moats. So we know he's super powerful, but what is his what is that going to do to the pyramid ships, honestly?
Yeah.
Nothing.
He's always been an interesting character too, and again, also, to anybody listening or watching this, if I am wrong, you can flame me in the comments. I want to be wrong so you can tell me what's right. The Drifter is also one of the original Dredgen, right? He is someone who can wield both light and dark. And so it's very interesting because he's always been that character that's known a little bit more than it felt like everybody else did. He hints at a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. And you're it's not until a couple years later that you're like, oh, wait, what? The Drifter was saying ever since we met him? No? Okay, cool. This is weird now. So, I don't know. He's a dope character. I would love to get to learn more about him and his connection to the darkness as well. Mm-hmm. Because we saw so much stuff when they did Season of Reckoning, right? And we had to go and do all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't miss
one
that.
of the cool... I mean, I don't, but I do because it's not in the game right
Yeah.
now. But it's whatever it is. But like all of those things where you see him talking to the Nine, you know, like I also want to learn more about the Nine and his connection with the Nine, and is the Nine connected to the darkness? And like this is a whole web of conspiracy that I've built in my head that I just want to know more of. And that's also like hats off to Bungie. I've been playing video games since I was a very small child. I continue to play video games now. There is not another video game out right now that has me as interested in the story and everything that's going on as Destiny has. And like it's sunk its hooks in me. I've been playing this game for too long. And at this point, I need to keep playing so that I can justify the amount of time that I've spent.
I think with the new lore that we're constantly being given each season, that alone is enough to keep me interested. You know, like to me, it's like the lore comes first, gameplay second. The gameplay is good enough to keep me interested, so that's all I need. I can shoot aliens in outer space and learn about this huge ass expansive story that really just keeps going, and we haven't even seen the outer edges of our universe. Now we're starting to cross timelines. That's a whole nother.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
yeah, it's very interesting. One of the last things that was happening in season 10 that had me particularly interested was the story of the NPCs who, spoiler alert, didn't make it. So I was particularly, you know, Sloane, she was cool. She didn't really bite into me, but yeah, Mercury's gone. Io's gone.
Can we have a celebration about the fact that Mercury is gone?
Yeah.
Like, man, that was one of the most difficult times to play Destiny 2 is Curse of Osiris.
Oh yeah.
You know, because you just had, like, it's like, oh, okay, we have to do the Infinite Forest runs again. Jesus, I hate the Infinite Forest. I hate the Haunted Forest. I hate almost everything that has to do with Mercury. And so I'm celebrating the fact that it's gone.
Yeah.
Brother Vance was cool. But yeah, I'm so glad. Because also that wasn't a very big planet, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, there really wasn't a lot to do. And it wasn't until like the last season or two when they finally allowed you to use your sparrows in.
Yeah.
So it was a very small one-room world with a single public event that if that was the event for the week where you needed publics, good luck. Just
I just skipped those weeks. I'm not gonna I was just like, I'm not doing this. Like I'm gonna go anywhere but Mercury. Like I put off that expansion for so long and like completing it and getting Sagira's shell because I was just like, nah, dude, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I got it done. Like I got it done, all things considered, but it was rough. So I'm glad that planet is gone. The other planets, I don't know, man. Like I kind of liked Titan. You know, Titan was cool, but the real one that I miss is and it's not even a planet, it's just a small destination. I hate the fact that we lost the tribute hall. Like that was one of the best places I think to test out new builds of armors and definitely new weapons and just trying to figure out what combination of what is going to get you the best results. And that place was dope for that. And it's gone now and I don't know what to do. You know, like if you put a shooting gallery in the tower, you know. Yeah. The tower is also weird right now, man. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I ran around like that was actually like the first thing I did come release day. I went straight to the tower. I was like, all right, let's see what's weird, what's different. And it's just, there is so much space in that tower for so few things. Like, we can keep saying 14 where he is. Amanda Holiday, I don't know what your point is in the game anymore. Same with Hawthorne, if we're being real, but I just use her to buy raid banners, you know, just that's all that she's good for.
That's really it. But you buy 30 to 50 raid banners at a time, so you don't need them.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely stocked up. You know, like by the end of last season, like I was running menageries all the time, just plopping them everywhere because I was like, I've got more than enough to spare.
Yeah,
you know, it's weird though. Like it's definitely also weird just to go to the director and not see all of those planets anymore. Like it's great because I don't have to bounty farm like every planet every day, but it sucks because I miss some of those old places, like it wasn't fun. It was definitely weird.
The heroic adventures.
You knew where everyone was going to spawn, but it was fun. It was fun times.
So let's go on the other side of the spectrum. Let's look at the future and what type of things are you looking forward to? What kind of speculation do you have for what we might get in, let's say, this year of the expansion? Because we're going to get 3 to 4 seasons
this year. That's the interesting thing, because overarching expansion, I think we're going to learn a lot more about the Brace. And everything else just feels like we're building up to the fight against Savathûn. The Witch Queen, I think, is the next expansion, right? Isn't that what it's called?
I believe so.
Yeah, so everything is building up to this giant ultimate fight against Savathûn. And this season of the Hunt's all about facing Xivu-Arath. And so that's cool, but the Sword Logic's been out for a while. We've faced off against Oryx. We've taken out Nokris. We've taken out Crota. Yeah. I know that lineage up and down, but I just want to learn more about the darkness, what its plans for us are. Hopefully it's some more subclasses, because that would be dope. But yeah, past that, man, just more Bray stuff and more stuff about the Golden Age. There's theories going around that we're going to learn a lot more about the Exos this year. You got the collector's edition of Beyond Light. It came with a Clovis Bray Lost Journal. Clovis Bray, for those of you who don't know, is very much the founder of Bray Tech, responsible for so much of Golden Age technology, including but not limited to Exos, our favorites, Cade 6.
Yes.
May rest in peace. But past that, I don't there's things I don't think about. And I'm I don't know. What could we do? We're taking on the Fallen right now. We don't really need to worry about the Taken, because we're gonna be dealing with them in a year. The Cabal, well, are we gonna see the Cabal again in any real meaningful way after we finish the Red War campaign?
I'm really tempted to believe that we're gonna get Darkness Cabal soon, because of the cutscene, which I believe was either right before the release or day of one of the trailers, was saying that the Darkness, we're not the only ones the Darkness is talking to. So it wouldn't make any sense for it to speak to only humans and Elixni or Fallen. It's really going to approach the Cabal, who are already being led by Callus, and he's a devout follower of the Darkness. So it wouldn't surprise me for them to be like, hey, pave the way for death with these Darkness powers. Here you go. Callus and his whole ship of.
I would love to see Callus come back. I really would.
Yeah, because we never really got the conclusion to that story. Last we left off, he was still out in space, and his daughter was starting to make her way onto the scene. And we learned that she was the actual one who betrayed him and caused his initial downfall. He vowed vengeance against her. He wants to kill his own daughter. So that would be an interesting. Is he going to approach us for that? Because he asks us for favors all the time.
He does. We are Callus's chosen, I believe, is an emblem in the game. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And
Callus loves us for whatever reason.
You can actually make the decision by gaining that emblem, that you as a guardian are deciding that I'm with Callus and I'm going to pave the way for death with, of course it's not the way it works out in game, but as a lore perspective, you're making that conscious decision to be Callus's representative. Callus's champion, that's the word I was looking for. Champion. Yeah. So
I would love to see more Callus stuff. I definitely would love to see that. Oh, while it's in my head, before it leaves my head, another thing I'd like to see, I would love to see the Dreadnought come back.
Yes.
We have the moon.
Yes.
We have so much stuff. The Dreadnought.
Yeah. I really want Xivu-Arath to take advantage of that, because it's just sitting in space. It's just chilling there.
It's still there.
We're not even guarding it anymore. So
yeah.
Hey, whoever wants a super weapon, it's right there.
especially for players who didn't play vanilla D1 and so weren't there at Taken King. Like, I played vanilla D1. It was cool. I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it all that much. It was complicated as all get out. There were so many currencies. There was so much stuff in the game. It was just not that fun to play. And then Taken King came out.
Yep.
And we got to go to the Dreadnought. And that's where I spent the majority of my time in D1 was on the Dreadnought. It is one of my favorite patrol areas. It is one of my favorite just areas in general, especially the Court of Oryx. Like,
yes,
I just want that place to come back. We've been giving love to the Cosmodrome. Like, it's definitely dope to go around to patrol that place again. But if we're bringing back old locations, we brought back the Cosmodrome, we brought back the moon. Let's keep going, man. Let's bring back the Dreadnought. Let me patrol that place again.
I think that is part of their plan, or I could really see them kind of unveiling that. If we, like they said, they don't want to keep adding to the game because they didn't have enough memory to support all destinations. So say you give us the Cosmodrome for a couple seasons, then we move on to the Dreadnought for a couple seasons, then we move back to Venus, and we go back to the Ishtar Collective and finish off that story. And that would be actually kind of relevant now because we know that Clovis Bray stole several technologies from Ishtar Collective. He actually raided one of their bases, murdered all these scientists in the name of progress. And they kind of just, we never heard how Ishtar retaliated or what happened after that.
Yeah, we really haven't heard much from them.
Yeah,
that'd be dope. And it also fits in with this Destiny content vault thing, like Vault of Glass is supposed to be coming back.
Right.
So, like, I'm just saying, like, I don't know who to talk to anymore at Bungie now that some people have left. But, like, that would be the thing. That would also just give me some great member berries, just that's what I did. Like, I don't know about you. I definitely loaded into the Cosmodrome and I just drove around on my Sparrow for a little bit and just was like, oh yeah, I remember all of this.
Unfortunately, wow. I didn't do that yet. There's one mission where you meet the new NPC Shahan. I did that, and but I'm waiting for them to give me a reason. Like, okay, I know you brought the Cosmodrome back for a reason. At some point, we're gonna get the Red Devil's strike, and there has to be other stuff in the Cosmodrome to do. So I'm just waiting for, hey, go hunt these things down in the Cosmodrome.
Oh, I did the exact opposite, man. I was like, oh, because I remember reading the I want to say it was the last TWAB before release, right? They finally started talking about the monument to Lost Quests and the monument to Lost Light or the Lost Exotics. Right. Which is super dope because I have a friend who is like one of the top 5% of raiders in Destiny 2, period. Okay. And he's missing some raid exotics, Like, this is a dude that raids literally every week, Sherpa's raids, and he's missing exotics. And so I was just curious about that. And they were like, hey, like, you can do the new light stuff. Like, even if you're an old Guardian, just go on by, like, do the new light stuff just to see what it's like. And that's where I started. I did a little bit of the main story. I was like, you know what? I want to know what it's going to be like for players who have never played this game or are fresh coming into this game. Right. It's also going to get me introduced to Shalhan, who my thoughts are still out on him right now. We'll see. But I've been experiencing that, and I've been running through the New Light campaign, and like that is actually, a very beautiful quest that is just very smartly designed to get players familiar with literally everything you do in Destiny. Like, we're doing bounties, we're going to the Gambit, we're going to Crucible, strikes. Like, it's taking us around everything, introducing us to old NPCs. It's cool, and it's just been really nice to go through with some fresh eyes because, I'm a jaded Destiny player, man. I've been playing this game since the beta. I have had high hopes, and I have had my hopes dashed, but it was definitely nice to just go in with a different perspective. Like, oh, okay, cool. Like, yeah, I remember this, or yeah, I'm glad that we talked about this. They have a whole thing dedicated to Cade, and like, there is I'm not spoiling it, so I can say it. You can see the Colonel. There's a picture of the Colonel, and then right below the Colonel is a table full of expired ramen coupons. Yeah, and like, they took that from me. It's not in my vault anymore.
Yeah.
But I was glad to see that it still has a place in the game. And I was very happy to see that xTweeziix is still remembered in a very positive way. And he's explained about to other people.
Yeah.
It's dope. You also get a Risk Rudder. I already had it. But, it's cool to get it again.
Get a new one.
Hey, I'm getting rid of all of those things, man. Like I before the end of last year, I pretty much dismantled all of my exotics. If I wasn't working on a catalyst, I get out. I need vault space.
Right.
So I'm also glad that now I have vault space. Like, let's be real.
Yeah. That's vault space definitely needs clearing up when you have a whole new slew of weapons and armor, and then everything that was sunset. So it doesn't necessarily make sense to, keep the space in your vault.
Yeah, and then I have depending on my mood that week, I'll have multiple versions of the same gun just with different perks on it that I'm trying to test out and just be like, oh, okay, like, do I like this better with like Rampage Snapshot? Like, what am I feeling on this build right now? Like, is this actually the OP build? Half the time it's a no. Like, Demolitionist is always great. Like if a gun is Demolitionist, like I'm pretty much gonna keep it. So, yeah, man. Just excited. I'm excited. It's been a long year, and the last season especially was very long, to the point where I don't think I really I didn't grind it out as much the last season, because like by the time that Festival of the Lost came around, I was done. I was burnt.
Agreed. Yeah, pre-Festival of the Lost, I was burnt, and then I popped back in just to see what was new. It was the same. And that was pretty much
I popped back out.
I really just used that the last month to, if there were any ships I was chasing or something I just kind of wanted before it was all going to the vault, I just grabbed a couple things. But besides that, I was definitely falling off due to the lack of content, which, granted, that's okay.
That's how it is.
Yeah, exactly. Because they
delayed the game like 2 months. Like, it's cool, man. We like, as an adult gamer who's been around more than a time or two and seen some really shit releases. Like, it's cool, man. Like, if you got to delay the game, especially given how this year has been, yeah, man. Like, it's going to suck because I'm going to have to play another game for a little bit, but take all the time you need to make this game the best game that it can be, because I already think that it's the best game on the market. There is no other game like Destiny 2. Like, there's other games that are similar, but there's nothing like Destiny 2 out there. And fortunately for me, like, there's nothing that's going to capture my interest like Destiny 2. I think when it's all said and done, like, Destiny 2 is going to be one of those games that I talk about for the rest of ever.
Yeah.
Just because of how much I've loved this game, how much I've loved the series, how much I love the devs. Just, yeah, I'm a hardcore fanboy for this stuff, man.
Same here. Something
it's all good, man.
All the time. Let's see. How do you feel about Zavala right now? Do you like Zavala? Are you team anti-Zavala? Do you think he's going to get corrupted by the darkness?
I've been team corruption. Or not even corrupted by the darkness. I read into that he was being persuaded by Savathun to not trust the Traveler. I'm very curious about him. We talked about it before, and now we're getting back to it. Like, that's another thing I want to learn more about. The Vanguard, especially. We have a Hunter Vanguard opening, and they've never talked about the fact if we're going to respect Cade's challenge of whoever kills Cade becomes the new Hunter Vanguard.
Right.
Because, I mean, we're seeing Aldrin come back as the Crow. I think his name is.
Yes.
So he's back. We're going to learn more about that. But
I don't think he would be a great first choice for the Hunter Vanguard. Great, he did. I don't think so. He did. If they're going by the dare, sure, but he is not the same person who killed.
No, he's not.
6, so he would have to do something new. But one little piece of lore that kind of shocked me was when they were saying that they were actually kind of looking for a replacement for xTweeziix, that the majority of the hunters had left the city.
Yeah.
That they abandoned their posts, that they're out there, doing their stuff because hey, I don't want to be the hunter vanguard. For them, that's actually like a life sentence of you will no longer be able to go out in the field. You will no longer be able to live your lifestyle the way you want as a hunter. You're going to be this essential puppet, really, who just sits in the tower. So
like that's what a hunter is. Like if you main hunters, like hunters are very much players that are just do it myself. Like, yeah, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
And it was especially poignant, and I'm glad that you brought up the fact that all the hunter had left, because the last thing that happened before the shutdown was going to the last city with all the guardians and watching the traveler reform.
Right.
And I remember it stuck out in my head at the time that Ghost was like, even the hunters have come back to the city.
Yeah.
So I just want to see more about the Vanguard, but Zavala, like a lot of times I'm team anti-Zavala. He's not fun. He's very much a rules guy. But this idea of him being corrupted, or the idea of him questioning the Traveler more, is just very interesting to me, especially because we're going to have to deal with this season Uldren, love it or hate it, Uldren is responsible for the death of xTweeziix. It was not just the Hunter Vanguard, but he's a member of Zavala's fire team.
Right.
And we are going to have to deal with how Zavala feels about forgiveness. And how do you forgive someone who doesn't know what they did? It's like, I've been so pumped for this, man. Like, I've been wanting Uldren to come back into the game for like the past 2 seasons for certain. So all of this builds in, and with all the questioning that Zavala has, man, like I'm excited to see where he's going to go. Same with Ikora, because the worst thing about Ikora is that she's at the tower, and she used to have a great purpose. You would go to her to replay campaign stories. They were called, I think Vanilla D2, they were called like memories or something like that.
That's right.
Yeah. So you can go and you can do the daily story heroics.
Right.
And she hasn't been doing anything lately, and like she knew that Eris was at the moon. She knew that Eris was kind of poking around.
Mm-hmm.
But where's she been? What's she up to? Is she questioning the way that she questioned at the beginning of the Red War? Like,
yeah,
I'm so excited. There's been so many things that they've put down there, and they let just like ruminate, and like, as a super fan, I'm just like, hey, like, but what are we going to talk about this? Are we going to talk about this? And so, as always, the exciting thing, like as we move forward and as we continue to progress the story forward, how are these little like, threads that they've started to weave in? How does this come together to form the picture that is Destiny 2?
Right.
I also wish they would drop Destiny 2. Like, just call it Destiny. Please go back to Destiny.
Agreed. Just leave it as one singular story. Or the opposite would have been, it would have been Destiny 3, because this is year 4, which is around the same time they made Destiny 2 and kind of made that. So if you were going to continue, Destiny 3 doesn't sound that bad, but we also don't want all of our stuff taken away like Destiny 1. So
yeah, because like that was the problem, man. Like when Vanilla D2 came out, man, like that was, if I can be frank, and I know why, like I read Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, so I know about the development of Destiny, and I heard that this was the exact same kind of thing that they went through in Destiny 2, where we had such a nice quality of life increase, or like quality of life just adjustments in Rise of Iron, to go back from, like, it felt like Vanilla D2 was a step backwards.
It did.
And it was cool, like, some parts were cool. We got to go and like when they're attacking the city, that first mission, you can go and Zavala's fighting with you and Ikora's fighting with you, and that was cool. But then after that, like,
it's pretty much
I gave up all my weapons in my vault. I spent 3 years earning all of those weapons and all that armor.
Oh yeah, all of that stuff is gone. The hardest sucker punch for me with the Vanilla D2 was, remember how we had to run everywhere until the end of the campaign?
Yeah, that was the dumbest thing.
Where's my space motorcycle? Nah, Guardian, you have legs. Like, no. No.
I don't want to use them. We have sparrows. We have the technology. Why aren't we using it?
Yeah, well, because the light was down, we didn't technical difficulties. We had
Yeah. Vanilla D2.
Yeah, but that's a good way to even just bring it full circle, because if a lot of the stuff that never really happened, but if you look into the development of D1 and the way that the story was supposed to be, how the original alpha testers tested the game, and even the fact that Aldrin is back now as the character the Crow, who he originally was supposed to be in that story, I feel like they're just wrapping everything that didn't get put in vanilla D1 and slowly starting to lay it out in a path to where we can continue the story we've been on, as well as go back and fix some things. It was very interesting.
I agree. It's been a very weird story for Bungie and Destiny. Like, they release a game and then they spend the next 3 years trying to fix the game that they released because there's a lot of stuff wrong with it. But I'm glad to see that we're at a point where we're not sequelizing and we're just going to move forward with the story. And we'll see what seasons are like. We'll see how they introduce and take away new destinations. But I'm just excited that I can continue to play this game, man.
Yeah, me too.
Such a nerd.
Me too. I would definitely want to say to any viewers out there who are considering trying Destiny 2 right now, I already know you're seeing some things, and we've said some things like what's been taken away, what we're missing in comparison to what we used to have. But just remember that this is the starting point of what they're trying to build out over the next 2 to 3 years. We already have the next 3 DLCs planned out, and just the kind of crazy stuff you can get from season to season changes. Stuff will happen that you never expected. Like, I didn't expect who would have thought Saint 14 would ever come back.
Or that we would have not only that Saint 14 would come back, but like we were his inspiration.
Yeah.
His first major mission that went wrong, we were there to save him.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're the reason. I had a problem with that, but that's another story. But we're the reason why Saint 14 is Saint 14. Oh, that was dope.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Sundial was dope. Also got to learn more about Osiris. And like, Osiris is a human being who cares about other human beings, apparently.
Right.
Man.
Right. One thing, Osiris, that amazes me every time, and I still haven't gotten a correct explanation, maybe you have some ideas, is Osiris's ability to make light clones of himself. How the heck does he do that? I've
read something in the lore about it.
In the real physical world, because he used them in the Battle of Six Fronts, where he basically took a whole front by himself, him and all his clones. But I know in the Infinite Forest, he can make, essentially infinite number of clones. Yeah. But
I'll have to get back to you on this one for the next episode. A little teaser, if you will.
Sure.
I remember reading something specifically about Osiris's ability to create light clones. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Osiris is one of the most powerful wielders of the light. Like, when they used to talk about Osiris, or when you read about him in the lore, like, he's someone who they say is even hard to look at because his light is just emanating off of him.
Mm-hmm.
He is just such a powerful guardian. So I will look that up. I actually think I read something in the lore about this. So I'm going to go look it up, and I might have to talk about that next week. It's definitely a thing I've researched, and that's what's going to drive me insane for the next 2 hours now.
That's good. Let's see. We're rounding off around 40 minutes. Are there any topics, any questions, concerns, anything you want to bring up?
Topics. Well, I think the last thing that we can end on really is what we think is going to happen on Europa. Because I don't remember if we talked much. Like, I've talked about the praise. But
it's I feel like at least 3 to 4 main storylines are culminating on Europa. In the trailer alone, so you've got the Exo Stranger with Braytech and that history, and that's also the origin of the Exos wrapped up in one story. You've got what is the Drifter really doing on Europa. I kind of want to believe that maybe Europa is the planet that he was originally stranded on with his other team of, like, his other fire team members, and everyone died, where they had the darkness creatures running around. Either parts of that lore might suggest that it was actually outside of our solar system, but other parts really make it seem like it was Europa. And if they go into that at all and introduce anything, like you were saying, his affiliation with the Nine, if they confirm anything, like there's going to be some crazy stuff. What's under that ice? So much.
Yeah.
So much. Then you've got you've got
the fact that Eris is there.
Eris Morn,
Eris is there, and it's very confusing because last we left her, she had I think it's called in game, it was called the Strange Artifact.
Right.
She had the ball, the big shiny ball,
mm-hmm.
and she was able to get onto the pyramid ship, and she touched the statue.
Right.
And you see, I don't think we've gotten confirmation yet about what her little ball thing is. I've heard tell that it's an Ahamkara bone, and that it speaks to her, and that's why she keeps it there, because they talk about, like, in the lore of all the armor, the Ahamkara will speak to you, especially like if you read the armor lores about them, like you can tell that they have a voice and they're trying to speak. But you watch her touch that statue, and then it goes from the green flamey thing, that's the best description of it, to like folding over, and it looks like darkness taking over, you know? And so I'm just very interested to see what she's doing there, because she is now communed with the darkness. And for the last season, she was the one talking more to the darkness and trying to understand the darkness and what it wants. And now, if you've watched the cutscene, she's there. She's on Europa. Why is she there? Why has she left the moon? Man.
All of that exactly fits in, especially what you were saying with the Ahamkara, because it was suggested that she broke a bone in the pit on the moon to make a wish with the Ahamkara, and that's how she got her eyes. But also with that cutscene that you were talking about, where she touches the statue and it changes power, there's nothing written anywhere where I've read this, but I think because, to me, the Ahamkara were creatures of the light. They didn't really show up until the Traveler did. So if you have an Ahamkara bone, it would react to the darkness. What is it exactly doing? I couldn't say, but it would definitely sense that this is something that I have no power with. It's completely not of my nature, which is a light-born creature. So, and then in that exact cutscene where you see her fighting on the Mars, if you look at her hand, she's actually holding the orb in its kind of metallic state in the darkness. And same with that trailer, like you can see the ice traveling towards her. So she now officially has accepted the darkness and has stasis powers as well.
Yeah. And so that's it. Like, what is she doing? What does the darkness want from us? You know?
Yeah.
And then also with Europa, man, like, again, it goes back to the Braze. Everything comes back to the Braze. You know, especially because there's Anna, and we haven't talked about her a lot. But Clovis Bray specifically, there's theorizing, and I say that because I didn't read the whole lore book yet. If I'm being honest, it's very long, and I had work to do. But they've been talking about the fact that Exos might be an origin of, like, have some origin in the darkness. You know, that the darkness is somehow involved in the creation of the Exos themselves. And how much did Clovis Bray know? Especially, and this is theory. This is all internet Reddit theory, what I'm about to say. But we've been talking about the Brays, and the current speculation is that once we get to open the Deep Stone Crypt, we are going to be facing off against an Exo Clovis Bray who might have gone mad or whatever. Europa is where a lot of answers are with the darkness right now, man. And like, I've heard rumors that we're going to be getting different drops of things as the seasons progress, and more story stuff as we continue on. And I'm just hoping that we get to learn more. Like, why Europa? Like, there's an entire solar system that we could be handling, but the devs specifically picked Europa, and it's the only planet that they introduced. So why Europa? Why is this planet so important? I'm a nerd. Once we're done with this, I'm going to eat dinner, and then I'm going to be playing Destiny until Sunday. So, you know, like, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see everything that they have for us this year, man. It's going to be a great year.
Yes, me too.
I hope.
Thank you so much for tuning into this Destiny lore discussion episode. We're definitely going to circle back to these topics that we've discussed today in the next episode. We'll be discussing things like what is the Season of the Hunt actually about? We know that it involves Xivu Arath, but in what way, shape, or form? Will we get more answers to really our Braytech questions? What's going to happen when Anna and Elsie meet up? They have to go on. Like that's your sister from another timeline. That's your sister.
Yeah, another sister, half sister thing, Elizabeth, whatever her name is. You know, and that's going to be interesting as well, because how much does Anna know versus how much Elsie knows? Because Elsie was there from the beginning. Elizabeth was there. Like, I think she was one of the first people that Clovis turned into an Exo.
Yes.
So she's been there. And they were working on like being able to restore memory. She knows things that Anna doesn't know.
Right.
So what are the things that Anna doesn't know? Because Anna's also searching for her past. Let's find out. Yeah. I'm rambling. I'm very excited about the lore of this game.
Me too.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Bye, everyone. Tune in on the next episode. Peace out.
See you guys next week.